The Sam Sorbo Show is brought to you in partnership by the Herzog Foundation.
Okay, coming up, what if the solution to your child's struggles with focus, sleep, and behavior isn't in another therapy session or even a pill, but it's in your pocket? Today's guest has a powerful message that every parent needs to hear about the devices we hand our kids and the damage that we are ignoring. You don't want to miss this. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. Here we go.
Sam, welcome back to the program.
I'm glad to welcome Sam Sorbo.
It's great to have you here.
All right, so welcome to the Sam Sorbo Show, and my guest today, I'm very excited to welcome, is Screen Strong founder and president Melanie Hempe. She has this fabulous book that we're going to walk you through a little bit. It looks a little bit onerous. It's large and it's a little thick, but it's kind of almost a kid's, like, it's not a coloring book, but it is a workbook. And what I love about it is it's very similar to my book, which is also a workbook for parents. Melanie, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Don't we love our workbooks?
You and I obviously think a lot alike. I've been saying, keep your kids off social media. I also admit I failed to do that. And that was my bad. And we reaped some negative repercussions from my inability to perceive the tremendous threat of not social media, which I know you park in social media a lot, but simply the internet, which is the Wild West.
Yeah. No, it's the internet. It's what we call toxic screen use. So we're not anti-screen, and you are not either, right? We love technology for certain things, but there's toxic screen
kind of on a screen right now. So
that's right.
I can't really say I'm anti-screen.
No, and it's like food. We have to eat food, right? But there's certain food that's just poison. And that's the way Screen Strong positions our message and how we help families, because we look at the medical science. And so social media, video games, pornography, and this unfettered access to the internet that you're talking about are toxic for kids. It's like a drug. We don't give certain drugs to our kids, and we should not give certain screen time to our kids, even if you try to manage and moderate. And as you know, that's impossible. So we're asking parents to do the impossible by trying to, instruct them how to manage it. So at Screen Strong, we figured it out. We've got the solution, Sam. We've got it figured out. And we've been helping families for almost a decade. So it's not new over here.
But I got to tell you, more and more families are giving their children their phones when the kids are so wee, so tiny, and the children, it's a pacifier. It's an electronic pacifier. It works almost instantaneously. It completely distracts the child. It shuts down. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what happens in a child's brain? Let's say from the ages 2 to 6. Let's start there, and I'll let you tell us.
Right.
What's happening.
What's happening is what the dentist office figured out a long time ago, which is why they remember what a Game Boy used to be? They used to use Game Boys. Now they use Switches for kids. They use it as a pre-op. So what that means is it is very powerful, and it changes the neurochemicals in a child's brain, also our brains, but mostly with kids. Now, for little kids, what happens when your child gets on a screen, they immediately stop doing whatever it was they were doing because they're immersed. They immediately get immersed in it. And what happens in the limbic area, this is the middle part of their brain, it starts getting hyperstimulated. And there's a lot of screen activities that parents say, well, it's just a cute cartoon, and can't they just watch this? It's like TV. Well, it's not a cute cartoon to the brain. So it's very phonetic. The screen changes are very, the scene changes are very, very rapid. So that requires a lot of energy, and that limbic area gets stimulated, and dopamine starts to dump in very high amounts, very unnatural amounts. So it is like they are on a drug. My oldest son was very addicted to video games. We had no idea what happened to him. He went to college and he dropped out. And what I'm talking about is the first thing I discovered with screen addiction, with really any kind of screen use. It is a chemical cocktail of neurochemicals that are being released. So it is very serious. You would never open the drug cabinet and go tell your 4-year-old to go pick their drug of choice. Of course, your medicine cabinet in your house. That doesn't make any sense. But what we're doing is triggering these harmful chemicals. And I think if every parent understood this, Sam, I think they would look at this issue totally different. This is not just a parenting decision. This is a medical decision. It is changing the brain structure. And because young brains are so malleable, right? All those little pathways are getting paved. We as their parents get to decide which ones get paved. And what happens when we hand an iPad, which by the way, I feel like a tablet, that was the worst thing we ever invented, because for parents, it's so tricky because you think, oh, it's just like a little TV. They can watch some kind of little cartoon. It is the gateway drug to everything else. And it's very hard to manage. But when we hand that over, what we're telling our kids is that this is our preferred activity for them. So they start to lose their ability to figure out real life and to dive into all the creative things, that they have to do to fill their time. You are exactly right, Sam. It is a babysitter. It is a cheap babysitter. You get what you pay for. It is very, very damaging to our kids. And again, I don't want to act like I'm over-exaggerating this. I am not over-exaggerating. It is changing the way that your kids will play forever because they won't want to do things in the real life again. My son said it very clearly after we figured out what's happening to him. He said, Mom, I loved my gaming world. The real world wasn't anywhere near as fun. And so when you start that with little kids from 2, 3, 4 years old, Sam, I don't know, with your kids, I figured out early on, I have 4. So I figured out with the older 2, a lot of things that we didn't do with our younger ones. Yeah. And one thing is I did not give my younger kids juice. Like I just gave them water. And guess what? What do they drink today? They drink water. So, they start to replace, you know what I mean? It happens with food. It happens with screen time. We have to understand though, what we are doing to their brain to set them up. We're doing it. We're like drug dealers.
I want to get into a little bit of the weeds on that, but before I do, just give us the brief outline of the trajectory of your son. Right. That really is the impetus for this campaign that you're running right now.
That's right. So we have 4 children. Our oldest was addicted to video games all through high school. I had no idea. I wish I had known the warning signs, which is what I'm passionate about telling parents now. So he went to college. We picked him up after his first semester and he looked like he was on drugs because he was on a screen drug. He got in the car. He hadn't eaten in a week. He hadn't left his room. He hadn't, bathed. He had all these signs and he said, Mom, I haven't gone to class. And by the way, I'm dropping out of college. And this was a very bright kid with 7 AP classes going into a very...
What were the signs in high school? You said it started early. So all through high school, you said. What were those signs that escaped you?
So in middle school, he started dropping out of all his sports. He started dropping out of all his activities, his music, his piano. He just started dropping out of everything. That was the first sign. Then he just started gaming all through the night. Like he was gaming after we went to bed. That is a big problem. And this is an addiction symptom when you're playing more and more, or you're using the drug more and more, whatever it is.
Did you not know that he was doing it all through the night? Or
no, we started going to bed before he did, right?
He was hiding it from you. And the idea that he dropped out of music, well, he's just not that interested in that.
That's right.
He's not that interested in sports. Right.
And he's not that interested in sport. And it was during the time when, the whole big thing out there in the parenting world was don't overschedule your kids. So I thought, oh, okay, that's good. I don't have to drive carpool. Oh, that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. And then what happened? He started disconnecting from our family.
Right.
Like this wasn't normal teenage behavior. Like, Adam, come upstairs for dinner. Adam, come upstairs to open your Christmas presents. Adam, come upstairs for your sister's birthday. He wasn't engaging in real activities with our family. And then the other sign was I was scared for my other kids because he would get a temper around his game. I don't know if you've ever been around a gamer before, but Adam would get angry and throw things. I mean, this is the private secret stuff that families don't like to talk about. So when I go out and speak to groups, I tell them this right away because I have made more mistakes than anybody listening, by the way, even today with your audience. Please don't feel bad about any of this. it's something that we all fall into this trap, and we don't
Don't
understand
know
what's
until
happening.
you know.
And you know what? He didn't want to get his driver's license. He wasn't dating. And you know what? I asked my friends, because I mean, this is my first teenager, and they said, "Emily, don't worry about it. At least you know where he is." I thought, oh my gosh, they said, well, he's not on drugs and he's not drinking. And I thought, is the bar that low? Sam, really? Is the bar that low? Is this
Well, a
where we
lot of
are
parents
now?
struggle with teenage rebellion, and he
Yeah.
wasn't really rebelling. He was
Oh,
still in
no.
the house. He was
And
still
I knew
wasn't.
where he was, right?
Yeah.
I knew where he was. So all these things, but his ability to not stop, he did not have a take it or leave it attitude. And we went on vacation one year, and all I remember is he stayed in the room and he played his video game. And I thought, something's wrong. And I had a gut feeling. And Sam, I did not trust my gut feeling. And my first point to parents out there today is you trust your gut feeling. And there are a lot of times mom sees it and dad doesn't, or dad sees it and mom doesn't. So you have to get on the same page. Parents, you have to understand that your spouse is there to see things that we don't always see, right? Back and forth. And it's kind of
And if
like a
somebody has
baseball
a gut
team.
feeling, it's
Yeah.
incumbent upon the other parent to at least entertain, right? And so the idea that he was spending his vacation in the room could
Yeah.
easily be, well, but that's where he's most happy. Like that's what he wants to do. What's the problem
That's
with that? And of course, you, Jonathan Haidt, Leonard Sachs, even Dr. Leonard Sachs is
Yeah.
saying, skip the play date and do the family date. Children need their parents. Teenagers need to have that bond with their parents. And the culture is telling you, no, teenagers need to, embark on their own
Right.
and be
So
independent and have their friends. And of course, so you're hearing all of that noise speaking against your gut that's telling you
right.
there's something wrong here. So,
Right. So
fast forward, he dropped out of college. You picked him up. He came home, and
oh my goodness. And so
okay,
the worst thing is having a launched kid come back home. We call them boomerang kids. And they
yep,
come back and he's living on your sofa. Sam, you never want this to happen. It is so frustrating. So I called the military because I didn't know what to do. I called an Army recruiter. He came to the door. I said, you've got to go recruit my son into the military, into a different Call of Duty, because he's on a Call of Duty right now that's not good. And he did. And Adam served 5 years in the military. We were very proud of him. He went overseas. He was deployed. He found a greater purpose, we might say. And then he came back. He did finish school. So it's all good. The ending to a certain point, even though there was a lot of sacrifice, there was a lot of pain. And Adam would tell you today that he so regrets the 10,000 or more hours that he spent on his video game. And he sadly would tell you that he did not have a fun childhood. It was very depressing. He asked in 8th grade for antidepressants on his Christmas list, Sam. How did I not pick up on this? Gamers
wow.
and kids and girls who are on social media, gamers, whatever, boys, they're very depressed. And this is why, John Haidt's book with the anxious generation is so popular right now, because somebody's finally calling it out. But I lived it, and it was a terrible, terrible place to live. So what we did is we changed everything for the younger kids, and I had it. So when the smartphones came out, I told my daughter, sorry, honey, we made a terrible decision with your brother, and it was a terrible experiment. So we're going to try something else.
Right. You're going to
And we're
reap the
gonna-
benefits of that. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about Chromebooks in the classrooms and technology in the classrooms
Yes.
and all that great stuff. And I also want to get into a little bit more of a deep dive into what this resource really provides for parents, because I want them to understand why they need it. So this is the Sam Sorbo Show, and we will be right back after a quick break. Thanks for tuning into the Sam Sorbo Show. You know, we are in a battle for our very nation, a nation that was founded on Christian principles and on the Bible. The 10 Commandments is the basis for our rule of law. But these days, when you go talk to people on the street, you'll find that most of them don't even know what rule of law means. And that's why I'm so proud to have Herzog Foundation as a sponsor of my show. I also love what they do because they seek for the benefit of Christian education throughout the nation. So Herzog Foundation is a wonderful partner for us here at the Sam Sorbo Show. Thanks for watching. Unlock a world of career possibilities with Praxis. a transformative program designed to help teens skip traditional college and start building a successful career right away. Praxis connects young people with real-world job opportunities, mentorship, and hands-on experience in fields like marketing, sales, and business development. Their teen course equips students with the skills they need to thrive in today's competitive workforce. Visit discoverpraxis.com/teen-course and use code SAM15 to get 15% off the teen course. Don't wait for a degree to start your career. Take the first step today with Praxis. All right, welcome back to the program. So my guest, Melanie Hempe, has written this phenomenal resource for all parents today, Kids' Brains and Screens. This will open your eyes and you will be perhaps amazed at what you thought maybe was just a banal kind of passive electronic pacifier. And let's face it, you're on screens all the time. What harm can be done? But she's here to warn us about the way the brain actually changes when you interact more with a screen than with the real world. And so, Melanie, I kind of wanted to pick up after the break with the Chromebooks in schools. And, my approach to Chromebooks was, they're data harvesting on your kids. They have direct access to your kids that is not with any parental oversight, actually no real teacher oversight. I've seen the pornography that they funnel onto these Chromebooks, frankly, and it's not this is not okay. But you take an even different approach where you're saying just the idea of giving a child a screen to work off of is detrimental to the child.
Yes, there's a lot of things that happen when a child picks up a screen. The first thing is the dopamine starts cranking. Okay, it's very high dopamine. And then the second thing is it's chronic stress starts to set in. It's very stressful being on a screen. You know the difference between picking up a book and reading a book and then trying to scroll and read something on a screen. It's your brain does very, very different things. So as far as the Chromebooks in the classroom, what a distraction. In fact, if you had to just invent the most distracted thing that you could do in a classroom, it would be to give a kid a screen. There's a lot right now on taking phones out of schools, right? And we all can see that, but it's really true with the ed tech that's going on too. So we know that deep learning doesn't occur on a screen. No matter, it may be convenient for teachers and they can do a test and they can, watch a video and that can be fine. But that deep learning, Sam, that deep learning where your brain has to focus, it cannot happen on a screen the same way it does when we pick up a book and we're looking at the pages. It is such an incredibly different experience. And all the data now is coming in. And it has been for a number of years. Sam, our nation's report card is terrible. We would all be grounded if we were really getting all the Fs.
Let me just point out to the audience that Sweden implemented Chromebooks in all the classrooms. They did a whole tech overhaul of their education system and put Chromebooks or whatever
tablets,
iPads throughout, and they have now removed them all because it was not a successful experiment. And I want to point out to people, our school system is the experiment. It is 110, 120 years old, and it is a failed experiment. And so now, unfortunately, they are implementing these Chromebooks in the schools with absolutely no evidence that they provide any benefit whatsoever, except to the teachers, because they sort of simplify a little bit of. And they're cheaper to a certain degree because you won't have to invest in books, but they're super malleable. We have there's no data on how they affect the kids. And what Melanie is pointing out here is that it is learned behavior that is the antithesis of education when your child interacts with a screen.
Right.
And she points out dopamine hits, but also the anxiety.
Yes.
Anxiety is an inhibitor to learning.
That's right.
So then you have to ask yourself, what are these people thinking, putting screens in front of children? If they don't already know, they should already know. They're the experts. They should know what the ramifications will be. And it seems like they don't care. And that makes me highly suspicious, doesn't it you?
Yes, you got to follow the dollars, right? That's how you find the answer to everything. But the thing about learning, Sam, is it's really hard. And our kids don't know hard anymore. When you start to learn something, you go through a stage where it's uncomfortable. and it hurts. It's like, hey, this doesn't feel right. And then you get it, and then you master. So there's 3 stages that you go through with learning. And what we're trying to do is gamify and make it fun and make all this learning fun. And, quite frankly, it's just not really that fun. You have to be alone and stop. And you see what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
We
But
have to get our kids to do this.
I have to push back a little bit. The reason that we think that learning is hard is because school makes it hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Learning actually is very fun. And
Yeah.
I go so far as to say it's easy because it's fun. Typically,
if
when
it's
you hunker
person
down
to person, if
right,
you have
when
a
you hunker
human
down
being
and you want to learn something, you teach it to yourself, you find answers, you're like, yay, I found the answer on that. Yay, I figured out how that works. Yay.
But
Good
what we
for
have,
me, I learned it. But they make it onerous and hard in school. And so now they're saying, well, let's fix that by giving them a screen and gamifying it. And unfortunately, it has the opposite effect. And so now kids no longer want to learn, and they will know what let's imagine that pretty soon they will no longer want their Chromebooks.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. I don't know about that, but no, I think learning should be fun. But what I mean by being hard is that you have to stop and concentrate and focus. And that's difficult for kids because they're not adults. We love to learn. Oh my goodness. You and I love to learn. But when you're a kid, you have to learn to learn. You have to learn to love it.
But the kids will naturally focus on something that interests them. It's the school that tells them that they have to focus on the things that they're not interested in, which is where they learn that learning is hard.
Right.
But a child who wants to figure out how to build a Lego will sit for hours reading the instructions, focused as all get out, building that Lego because he wants the end result. And so it goes back to the schools again. And unfortunately now they're gamifying and they're convincing parents, look, parents, this is going to be fun for the kids. And the parents are going to get very troubled children back. Right.
But the reason why your kids have fun learning is because you are involved in their learning and they have a real human being. So when you take the human element out, it's not that fun anymore because you're by yourself. Even if your child is building Legos and you're in the kitchen making dinner, you're still with him in that room.
That's who gets to see the Lego first.
Yes. That's my point.
Can I just say my 21-year-old got a Lego for his birthday that was 6,000 pieces or whatever. And I was the first one who brought it down to the kitchen to show me. Like, it's pretty cool, I have to say. It's pretty cool. Legos are pretty cool.
We do too. But in this book that we wrote for kids for like middle school and up, we explain this to them in here. We explain why paper is better than screens and why a textbook is better than screens. And we explain to them how they can actually learn and have fun, how they have social time with their friends when they're off a screen, how their body is physically stronger when they're outside playing and off a screen, and how their mental health is so much stronger. So we tell kids all the positive things about how their brain is going to be better if they take this little bit different path.
So there are 2 books. I want to clarify. This is like the parents' version.
No, we have the curriculum, and then we have the home edition that's just coming out. It is a smaller version of the same lessons, but this has all the curriculum pieces to it, the lesson plans and all the activity sheets, and this one does not. So they're 2 different books, but they're on our website at screenstrong.org. You can go, you can get them. We have free shipping right now. So that's really cool.
Are there?
Huh?
The explanation so people can decipher which one they want.
Go to So if you're in a homeschool co-op or maybe you're a teacher at a school, you definitely want the curriculum because it has all the worksheets in it. If you're a family who just wants to learn more about the medical aspect of brain science when it comes to screen time, you want the home edition. And let me tell you, there are 8 lessons. You can sit down at dinner. You can take every night, go through one of the lessons. There's a lot of pictures in here. As you can see, the graphics and everything are really compelling. So this is really good for even an 8 or 9-year-old. You can go through, and you know what, Sam? The best thing about this is you're no longer the bad guy.
Right.
You have the language, and it's science, and it is fun. You're right. It is so fun to learn this.
Right. And part of the reason that it's fun for kids is it's empowerment. And they're seeking to empower themselves because they're kids and they basically lack power. And so of course they're seeking to empower themselves. And when you give your children the truth, you galvanize them against the lies. And that's what this curriculum can do for your kids. And I also want to encourage parents, you've listened to this. refer your friends, send them this video so that they can also understand why you are adamantly opposed to giving your child a phone, and get your friends, your parent friends on board on the same program, and form like a team and say, we
That's
are
right.
the parents who look after our kids. We are the protective parents. We are going to make sure that our children stay as safe as possible until they're up and out.
Yeah. And this was our most requested parent product. They have been begging me for years to put it, because I've been doing this with parents for many years, or almost a decade. And their most request that we have had is to, can you please explain this to my kids? Isn't that where we all are at right now? We tell them no, and then I don't know why, it's just bad. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. We have to explain the science. And Sam, kids do not like to feel like they're being tricked. And in this book, we explain how big tech is working to trick them. And, no offense to big tech. I mean, they can do whatever they want. We live in a free country. But as a parent, you have a right to know, and your kids have a right to know. The persuasive design that we talk about in here, that's one of the most interesting things for kids. And also, we have this incredible way to explain dopamine to a child.
Right.
So your whole family can talk about it. Like, that's a high dopamine activity. Maybe we need to do this one instead. You can use science terms. And it really does work. We've been doing this longer than any organization out there. We have so much success around helping families prevent and reverse screen addiction. The Kids' Brains and Screens is saving lives. We're saving lives with this. And if you're a parent listening, please don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you gave in and gave them stuff. I did too. We all did. You have to start with today. And just like the mom who's a lawyer that just emailed me last night late, she said, Melanie, we just got your book. Tomorrow is a new day.
Tomorrow's a new day. No, it's beautiful. And it's not too late. You can have these conversations even with adult children.
Yes.
And by the way, like, why not have that conversation with your adult children and tell them, I had no idea what I was setting you up for. If there's anything that I can do to help you now, I'm ready and willing and able to figure this out and help you. This is a terrible thing that we've done to ourselves. As usual, and we mucked it up, and now there's always a chance for redemption. So,
well, and I want to say, Sam, that my younger 3 kids, my daughter and my 2 boys, the youngest, they grew up without a smartphone and social media and video games. They are perfectly fine. They are more than fine. They were the class president and the student body president. My daughter was a D1 athlete. I mean, they were so much better off. And, we had their friends over at our house all the time. So what I say is, you just need to trade all those counseling dollars for food and feed the teenagers at your house. They will come. They had their friends over all the time. That was the difference. My oldest son doesn't have that rich childhood. He has no friendships from childhood, but my younger kids do. And you and I both know how important those relationships are. And it's our job as parents to train and coach our kids how to be good friends. You cannot be a good friend on a screen. You cannot be a good friend on social media or a video game. I know it feels like
are you saying it's the parents' responsibility to manage the social interactions of their children?
Yes, you have to open your doors wide, make your house the fun house. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, you just need to have food.
Well, but the other thing is, children behave differently. And so my oldest was super gregarious, had his friends over all the time. My younger 2 that wasn't their style. They aren't super gregarious. They aren't extroverts. They're introverts. And so every child is different. But I told this story the other day. My son used to have his youth group over to the house. He'd just invite the whole group. And they would show up, but the girls dressed like harlots. And I did not like that. And so I went to my son, who was very much a leader. And I said, here's the deal. These young women that are coming into the house are not dressed appropriately. So you have 2 choices. You can tell them to dress more appropriately, or I will stand at the door and hand out extra large t-shirts. And they dressed more appropriately. Lo and behold, I didn't need to go buy a bunch of t-shirts.
They just needed somebody to raise the bar, Sam. We have to raise the bar. And for your younger kids, if y'all have kids who are not very social, then you know what? Having one friend over is okay.
Right.
It is important that they learn how to read body language and make eye contact. Then they will start to become more comfortable in their own skin. But they're never going to be
that from adults too. And so it's important for children to socialize with other adults and children of other ages and all of those things. So I just love that you are raising the alarm on all of this and offering the solution. And it's unfortunately like it's a learning curve. Like parents need to learn this stuff before they can actually kind of implement it. I mean, they can implement it, but
Yeah.
they need to be galvanized with the truth so that they can stand strong. So when their kid says, "But Bobby has a phone, mom,"
Then you know why. You got to know why. Once
you
you
gotta know
learn
why.
why, Sam, then you're good to go. People feel like they're not confident in their message to their kids when they don't understand the
Exactly.
reason. And
That's
so
why these books.
that's why we have to learn. And there's so many parents that have learned so much from this. Because, if you want to learn about history, read a good a fifth grade history book, right? Sometimes it's just the more simple, the better. So when you can learn the science, then you're empowered. And that's what we are here to do. We're here to empower parents and empower parents to quit worrying about all those opinions out there.
Yes.
You got to understand the science and the truth. And Sam, the truth never changes. It
Nope.
never
And
changes.
it sets you free, strangely.
It
Listen,
absolutely sets you free.
before I let you go, because we're running out of time, one, what is your education background and how do you use it today?
I am a nurse. I graduated from Emory University, and boy, I use it every day. I use all my nursing background. In fact, that's why Screen Strong was founded, because we wanted to bring the science and the medical truth into this issue. That's how I use it. I use it every day. Yeah.
Right. Did you study this in nursing school?
No, it doesn't exist. It didn't exist back then. Screen addiction was not a thing. I started going to a lot of conferences just when my son was suffering.
But your nursing background informs the way that you approach the material, which is obviously beneficial.
It informs all the addiction science. Yes.
Right. What advice would you give your younger self? You can pick any age, but sort of what's the big tip of advice?
Well, I think if I could pick when I was really young, when I was first having my kids, maybe I would tell myself to really trust your gut feeling, because we have that for a reason. It is something that most women and dads, all parents, we've got this thing that we tend to let culture erase, and we have to stop doing that. We have to trust the truth and what we know the truth is in our heart. And we have to I think I would have told myself to dare to be different and to be bolder, younger, and not to wait till I got so old and so wise to be bold.
I love it. What is the most urgent cultural shift that you think we need today to get us back on track, say?
Well, today it's the mental health crisis that we're dealing with our teenagers. And it all starts, Sam, when you bring that baby home from the hospital, when you start to make decisions about seriously how much screen time this kid is going to get and who's going to be the primary influence in their life. Is it going to be the internet, or is it going to be me, the parent? And I think that's where the shift is. It's if I had to sum it up in one big problem, we are losing our kids because they are detaching from our homes too early. They're detaching from our relationship as parents too early, and they're reattaching to the wrong thing. That's where culture is shifting. And when you give your child a smartphone or a video game or social media, you are opening the door for that shift. And many parents can't get their kids back afterwards. We will show you how, but it's very, very sad for the parents who can't get their kids back. So it's that premature detachment from family. It's critical.
Melanie Hempe, thank you so much for coming on the program. Brilliant stuff. So such a great resource. We will post in the links and everything where to get these resources. They are critical.
They're life-changing. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. And so everyone, this is the Sam Sorbo Show. Thank you so much for joining me. We will see you next time. Remember, speak truth and speak it boldly.
The views and opinions expressed in the Sam Sorbo Show are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the Herzog Foundation.